Ravi Kumar and Isabella Harrington were worlds apart, a humble security guard and a billionaire heiress. But their forbidden romance would spiral into a deadly conspiracy that no one saw coming. Ravi Kumar had always lived a life defined by routine and quiet ambition. Born in Mumbai, he had grown up in a modest neighborhood, where his dreams of something greater were fueled by stories of opportunity abroad. After years of working as a security guard in small establishments, he finally landed a position in Los Angeles at the Harrington estate, a sprawling mansion in the heart of Beverly Hills. The estate was a fortress of opulence, with towering gates, manicured gardens, and priceless artworks behind glass cases. Every day, Ravi followed a strict schedule, patrolling the perimeter, monitoring cameras, and ensuring that nothing and no one disturbed the fragile world of wealth contained within. He was invisible to most, a silent presence in a house where luxury often masked danger. Yet, everything changed the moment he first saw Isabella Harrington. She was unlike anyone Ravi had ever met. The granddaughter of the estate's billionaire owner, Isabella moved with an effortless grace and a kind of quiet defiance. Her eyes seemed to pierce through the careful layers of his disciplined life, and for reasons he could not explain, he felt a pull toward her that was both thrilling and forbidden. Encounters at first were brief, glimpses across the marble halls, polite nods, small gestures that might have gone unnoticed by others. But beneath the surface, a connection began to form, fragile and secret. Ravi found himself watching her from a distance, feeling emotions he had never allowed himself to entertain. Each day, his mind wandered from the structured routine of his duties to thoughts of her smile, her laugh, the way she lingered near the gardens. He knew the rules. Employees were never to engage personally with the family. Yet he could not resist the growing sense that something extraordinary was about to unfold, a dangerous secret that could change both of their lives forever. Ravi had always known the boundaries of his position, but the more he interacted with Isabella Harrington, the more those boundaries began to blur. What started as fleeting glances and polite nods evolved into stolen moments in the mansion's hidden corners. Late at night, when the estate was quiet and the hum of security cameras seemed distant, Isabella would slip out of her rooms and meet him in the shadowed gardens. The scent of blooming flowers mixed with the cool night air, creating an intoxicating sense of secrecy. Every encounter was brief, but each left a lingering tension, a sense that they were both teetering on the edge of something forbidden. Ravi felt a constant mix of exhilaration and fear. He knew that if anyone discovered their meetings, the consequences could be catastrophic. The Harrington family valued their privacy above all else, and an employee crossing that line could mean immediate dismissal, or worse, suspicion and scandal. Despite this, he found himself drawn deeper into Isabella's world, captivated by her fearless spirit and the way she seemed to see past his uniform and position into the core of who he was. Isabella, too, seemed entranced by the contrast between her life of wealth and luxury and Ravi's simple, grounded existence. She found freedom in his perspective, a sense of reality that the halls of the Harrington mansion often obscured. They shared fleeting conversations under the dim glow of garden lights, exchanged secret notes hidden in unlikely places, and discovered small, private rituals that no one else could ever witness. Each encounter built a fragile web of trust and desire, pulling them closer despite the growing awareness of the risks. In that world of quiet rebellion and whispered promises, Ravi and Isabella began a romance that was thrilling, dangerous, and impossible to sustain, setting the stage for consequences neither could have predicted. Ravi's life had always been simple, but Isabella Harrington introduced him to a world he had never imagined, one of excess, glamour, and temptation. She began taking him to private parties hosted at sprawling mansions in Beverly Hills, events filled with glittering chandeliers, expensive wines, and guests whose wealth and influence seemed untouchable. At first, Ravi felt out of place, a silent observer in a room of dazzling elegance, but Isabella's presence made him feel less like an outsider. He was fascinated by the way she moved through these spaces effortlessly, her laughter ringing clear above the hum of conversations and clinking glasses. He saw firsthand the privileges that came with her family name. Yachts moored along private docks, private jets ready at a moment's notice, and luxury cars parked in immaculate garages. The magnitude of wealth was overwhelming, yet it also highlighted the stark divide between his modest life and the world Isabella inhabited. Despite the allure, Ravi remained cautious. He observed carefully, aware that his every move could be noticed and judged by the scrutinizing eyes of the elite. Even within this dazzling world, secrecy remained vital. Their meetings had to be carefully planned, moments stolen between social events or behind the mansion's towering walls. Ravi found himself learning the subtle nuances of a life defined by appearances, how to nod politely, how to smile without revealing too much, how to navigate spaces where a single misstep could expose them both. Amid the glitter and glamour, the thrill of their secret romance only intensified. Ravi felt both exhilarated and burdened by the stark contrast between their worlds. The luxury was intoxicating, but it also made the stakes painfully clear. Their connection existed in a fragile balance. One wrong move could shatter everything, and the line between passion and danger was becoming increasingly blurred. The first signs of trouble appeared subtly, almost imperceptibly, but Ravi could sense the tension growing within the Harrington estate. One morning, as he reviewed the security monitors, he noticed something unusual. Certain cameras had been adjusted slightly, shadows moved where they shouldn't have, and a door that was always locked had been left ajar for only a few minutes. At first, he dismissed it as a technical glitch, but the unease lingered. The estate's head of security, a stern and methodical man, began questioning the staff more frequently, scrutinizing schedules, and noting inconsistencies in daily routines. Ravi's heart raced whenever he moved through the halls, each glance over his shoulder a reminder that their secret might be discovered. He had always known the risk of being close to Isabella, but now the estate itself seemed to sense the irregularity, the disturbance in its carefully maintained order. He began to notice the way other staff members exchanged furtive glances, whispered in corners, and stole quick, suspicious looks at him. Every small action felt magnified, every moment a potential mistake that could reveal the truth. Even Isabella seemed aware of the growing danger. She became more cautious, more deliberate in planning their secret meetings, always checking the paths and timing to avoid prying eyes. The thrill of their romance was now intertwined with a constant tension, each encounter carrying the weight of exposure. Ravi found himself thinking constantly about what might happen if their connection was uncovered, imagining the consequences that could destroy not only his life, but hers as well. The atmosphere in the mansion grew heavier, suspicion hanging like a shadow over their clandestine romance. The once private garden walks and hidden notes now felt like a game played on the edge of a cliff. Ravi knew that the walls were closing in, and that each decision he made could either protect them or accelerate the inevitable revelati. Ravi had managed to navigate the growing suspicion within the Harrington estate, but a new danger emerged that threatened to unravel everything. One afternoon, a man appeared at the edge of the estate, dressed inconspicuously yet radiating a sense of menace. He left an envelope on the gate with no introduction, no explanation. Inside were photographs, hidden moments of Ravi and Isabella together, taken without their knowledge. Along with the images came a demand, a substantial sum of money in exchange for silence. Panic surged through Ravi as he realized how precarious their situation had become. The blackmailer was relentless. Messages followed, each more threatening than the last, showing not only their secret encounters, but implying knowledge of every minor detail of their lives. Ravi tried to stay calm, attempting to protect Isabella and himself while searching for a solution. Paying the money seemed impossible. Refusing the demands invited exposure and ruin. Every plan he devised only seemed to provoke the blackmailer further. Each interaction a dangerous gamble. Ravi's nights were restless, haunted by fear and uncertainty. He constantly scanned the estate, suspicious of every stranger, every shadow, every sound. Even Isabella, usually fearless and confident, began to show cracks of anxiety. Their secret world, once thrilling and intoxicating, now felt like a trap closing around them. As the pressure mounted, Ravi realized that this was no longer simply about love or desire. It had become a battle for survival. Every move had to be calculated, every encounter carefully staged, and every trust carefully measured. The blackmailer had shifted their lives into a high-stakes game, and Ravi understood that one wrong decision could destroy not just their romance, but their freedom, reputations, and possibly their lives. What had begun as a passionate, forbidden love had spiraled into a dangerous struggle against a hidden and merciless enemy, setting the stage for Kant's. The mounting pressure from the blackmailer had left Ravi exhausted and on edge. Every day felt like walking a tightrope, where a single misstep could bring everything crashing down. He had tried to protect Isabella from the growing danger, but the threats were relentless, and he realized that hiding was no longer enough. One night, after another anonymous message arrived with a clear warning, Ravi made a desperate decision. He would confront the situation head-on, hoping to end the torment before it escalated further. Isabella's car had been found abandoned near the cliffs of Malibu earlier that day, a detail that sent shockwaves through Ravi's mind. Fear gnawed at him relentlessly, making every plan feel urgent and every choice critical. He knew someone was manipulating events from the shadows, someone who had intimate knowledge of their secret meetings and routines. The realization that the danger was no longer abstract, but tangible and immediate, made his stomach churn with anxiety. As he tried to piece together the blackmailer's identity, Ravi began retracing their steps, reviewing the times and locations of their encounters, and analyzing every interaction for signs of betrayal. Every small detail seemed magnified under the harsh light of urgency, each memory carrying potential clues. The thrill and romance that once defined their nights now felt like a trap. The mansion, the gardens, the shadows, all had transformed from places of intimacy to spaces fraught with danger. Ravi understood that they were on borrowed time. The pressure to act, to make a move before someone else did, weighed heavily on him. Every plan was tentative, every step calculated, yet the fear of failure loomed larger than ever. The romance that had once seemed thrilling and forbidden was now a perilous journey, teetering on the edge of disaster, where one wrong choice could destroy everything they had fought to protect. Ravi had always assumed the blackmailer was an outsider, someone lurking in the shadows for personal gain, but the truth he uncovered was far more shocking. After days of discreet investigation, he discovered that the threats and manipulations were coming from within the Harrington family itself. A distant cousin of Isabella, Vivian Harrington, had orchestrated the scheme, motivated by envy and greed. The revelation hit Ravi like a punch to the chest. Someone he had seen as part of the family, someone who had smiled politely at him during gatherings, was actively plotting to destroy both him and Isabella. Vivian's motives were clear. She wanted to remove any obstacle to her claim on the family fortune. By framing Ravi and threatening exposure, she had created a carefully constructed illusion of scandal, designed to turn the Harringtons against him and isolate Isabella. Every moment he had spent worrying about outsiders now seemed almost trivial compared to the betrayal from within. Ravi realized that nothing in the mansion could be taken at face value. Friends were potential spies, family members could be enemies, and trust was now a dangerous luxury he could no longer afford. As he pieced together Vivian's plan, Ravi understood that every threat, every photograph, every message had been meticulously staged to manipulate their emotions and force errors. The mansion that had once felt like a secure haven had transformed into a labyrinth of danger and deceit. Every hallway, every room, even the gardens where he and Isabella had once found solace, were now battlegrounds in a silent war. Ravi's mind raced with strategies to protect Isabella and himself. He knew that confronting Vivian directly would be risky, but inaction was equally perilous. The enemy was not an unknown shadow. It was someone within the very walls they trusted, someone capable of orchestrating tragedy from behind a polished smile. With this knowledge, Ravi stepped into a new reality, one where the tension that had been building for months reached its breaking point on a stormy evening. Ravi and Isabella had carefully planned to meet in the mansion's private library, hoping to discuss the blackmail and devise a way to expose Vivian without raising suspicion. The room, lined with towering bookshelves and dimly lit by antique lamps, had always been their sanctuary. But that night, it became a trap. Shadows moved along the walls before they could react, and armed intruders appeared from hidden corners. Panic surged through Ravi as he realized they had been discovered. The confrontation was chaotic and disorienting. Furniture was overturned, papers scattered across the polished floors, and the sound of shouted commands and clashing bodies filled the room. Ravi tried to shield Isabella, guiding her toward the exit, but the intruders were relentless. In the confusion, a gun discharged. The deafening sound echoed through the mansion, and in an instant, everything changed. Isabella collapsed, and Ravi felt a cold, crushing panic as he rushed to her side, knowing that nothing could undo what had happened. The life they had shared, the secret moments and forbidden love, were gone in a heartbeat. In the aftermath, the estate seemed frozen in shock. Security cameras had malfunctioned during the incident, conveniently erasing any visual evidence of the attack. Ravi, covered in fear and grief, quickly became the prime suspect. The press descended, sensationalizing the story, an immigrant guard accused of murdering a billionaire's granddaughter. Every detail of his life was dissected, scrutinized, and portrayed as motive. Ravi was trapped in a nightmare of suspicion, betrayal, and loss. The library, once a place of whispered secrets and quiet intimacy, had transformed into a scene of violence and tragedy. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil within, and Ravi realized that their love, which had once felt so thrilling and unstoppable, had become the catalyst for. The investigation into Isabella's death was relentless, leaving Ravi under constant scrutiny. Detectives combed through every detail of his life, examining his finances, his relationships, and even his daily routines with meticulous precision. Each day felt like walking through a courtroom where he was both defendant and evidence. Despite his insistence on innocence, the media painted a damning narrative, a lowly security guard allegedly murdering the heiress of a billion-dollar fortune. Sensational headlines and intrusive coverage made it impossible to escape the weight of suspicion. Detective Mark Benson led the inquiry with methodical rigor, interrogating Ravi repeatedly and reviewing security footage, which conveniently malfunctioned at the moment of the shooting. Every interaction Ravi had with Isabella was scrutinized, and even minor inconsistencies in his statements were treated as evidence of guilt. The pressure was suffocating, isolating him from friends and colleagues who began to distance themselves out of fear. His once simple existence had turned into a relentless storm of accusation and doubt, each day amplifying the sense of hopelessness. Ravi, however, refused to surrender to despair. Behind closed doors, he painstakingly retraced every movement, every decision, every meeting with Isabella. He started to notice subtle patterns, small anomalies that suggested the events had been orchestrated with precision. The blackmailer, the threats, and the attack in the library were no longer random acts. They were part of a calculated plan designed to frame him. As the investigation unfolded, evidence began to emerge that hinted at a larger conspiracy. Hidden accounts, forged messages, and irregularities in surveillance logs pointed towards someone within the Harrington family. While Ravi remained the prime suspect publicly, privately he began to piece together the truth. The tragedy was not a crime of passion committed by him, but a carefully staged betrayal. Months passed before the full truth behind Isabella's death began to emerge, and when it did, it was more shocking than anyone had anticipated. Investigators uncovered evidence proving that Vivian Harrington, Isabella's envious cousin, had meticulously orchestrated the events leading to the fatal night. Secret accounts, manipulated messages, and tampered surveillance footage revealed a plan designed to frame Ravi while removing Isabella as an obstacle to Vivian's inheritance. The revelation shocked the Harrington family, the staff, and the media alike, finally vindicating Ravi after months of suspicion and public scrutiny. Though cleared legally, Ravi's life had been irreversibly altered. He had lost Isabella, the love that had brought excitement and meaning to his otherwise ordinary life. The mansion, once a place of secret romance and occasional thrills, now felt like a monument to betrayal and tragedy. Even as he returned to a quieter existence, the memories of stolen moments and whispered promises haunted him. Every street, every shadow, every familiar place seemed to carry reminders of what had been lost. Ravi became a figure of sympathy and fascination, a man caught between innocence and accusation, hero and victim. The public's perception, shaped by months of sensational reporting, slowly shifted as the evidence came to light, highlighting the dangers of greed, envy, and manipulation even within the most privileged circles. He tried to rebuild, taking small steps back into the world outside the estate. Yet the experience left him wary of trust and cautious in relationships. The love he had shared with Isabella, though brief, had changed him forever, teaching lessons about desire, danger, and the fragility of human connection. In the end, Ravi's story was one of survival amid betrayal, a reminder that even the most forbidden romances can carry consequences far beyond imagination, and that the cost of love can sometimes be heartbreakingly final.